Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to Eleve Cafe. I am Chris. Welcome to my channel. Every single week, we take a look here at the core markets. So we try to analyze them from an Elliott wave perspective, at least the S&P and Bitcoin, and then we're going to look at the rest of the core markets through more of a technical analysis. Moving averages, support, resistance, volume, things of that nature. But I want to give you my views every week and just tell you what I think it's happening and kind of where we are based on the current price action. So I always like to start with the S&P 500, and we'll take a look at the Nasdaq, the Dow, IWM. I'll tell you where I'm positioned, and then we'll also take a look at Bitcoin. It seems to be starting to break out, so that's interesting. So lots to talk about. Let's begin with the S&P. Like I said, I always like to look at the quarterly time frames because it gives you a large perspective of where you are, and this keeps me under the idea that it's always better to trade from the bull side in the markets because usually that's what happens. Markets go up, earnings go up, companies improve, they get replaced, bad ones by new ones, so they all get added or removed from the S&P 500. But overall, the market continues to trend higher, right? And it's labeled in here to a series of ones and twos because I'm pretty optimistic about the future, and we want to give it the benefit of the doubt and just let it run as much as it really wants to. And I think it's a decent count. I mean, you could argue that this is a fourth, and you're in a final fifth, and you're beginning, the biggest depression, I don't know, in the history of the world or something like that. But I don't think that's the case. So if you want to place a wave five in here, be my guest. I don't think it's going to work out. But for me, I think that's the more sane and the more proper way to kind of look at the market, since it's been proving to us that it continues to move up through decades, right? So going from the quarterly to the weekly, you can see in here, right? We have this blue, right? The primary intermediate. Then you have 1 2 1 2 in here, I think. This leads to this larger third wave in this orange. I think we're still in it. No real evidence that this is being finished in any way. We're still making higher highs, higher lows. We broke a little bit this uptrend in here, this small time frame. If you look at the dailies, this trend line in here, it's kind of toying with it a little bit right now. But I think overall, you're still in a possible three-wave setback. I'm not really, 100% convinced that this is the correct one too. It's just based on, kind of some of the impulses that I see in here that it probably make more sense. This one, it's not as, let's say, as powerful as this one, right? You almost want to label this as a third wave, but then you would have to make this as a four, and then the previous wave is too short to be a two. So that's where some of these problems come in. So for now, I'll leave it as a 1 2, and then we'll see what happens here next. However, I'm not in the S&P 500 as a trade vehicle at the moment. I don't think it's the right approach right now. I think you want to be in the Dow, you want to be in IWM. Obviously, the mega caps are still being shaken out, and they're going to a little bit of repricing. I want to see, us kind of get back maybe about 55. Let's see what that level is. Basically, the top of this B wave, if that's a B wave, about 5,600. And I want to see a few days of buying. I want to see some moving averages kind of get taken back out, and bulls come in. So nice reaction here. They had a little bit shakeout below this 54.40. Then we closed higher on Friday. Again, not a bullish signal yet, but something I'm definitely watching because I want to participate if they're going to take it back towards 6,000, let's say. I want to participate into that, but there's no signals just yet. So that's just a quick view at the Elliott wave structure. And here you can see, I mean, you can have 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 4 and 5. So this could be maybe another wave 1, and then with the small wave 2, and then actually this wave 3 can become more powerful, let's say, later in the year, maybe after October, after the elections. I'm not sure. I'll take it one day at a time. I'm not making any predictions in here. I watch price, and if a vehicle that I watch it doesn't behave the way I'd like it to, then I don't want to be in it, and until it does so. So that's the bottom line. Now, if we take a look at the weekly time frame in terms of candle, yes, we did have a couple of weekly sell-offs. We had, back in April also about 3 weeks that dropped below the 10-week moving average. This one in here, you can see that it's a nice reaction of that 54. So they did drop it below the 10-week, but they closed above it, which I think it's a positive sign. A little bit of a, decent value kind of volume coming in. But again, I'm not ready to say that this is going to turn around right away and is going to make a bullish move, right? I think when it happens, we will see it on the chart. Short of getting a massive bullish candle, something like this coming up next week. And if it happens, I'll watch it. We'll watch it on a daily basis. And if we're going towards 5600 with a nice bullish candle, then I know that I'm prepared to reinitiate bullish positions after that. Until then, I want to let it shake the tree a little bit, consolidate, do whatever it needs to do. But for right now, for me, two black candles are not a signal to turn around and start to buy the market, right? From the weekly time frame perspective. If you're on a daily, we can talk about it, but right here on the weekly, I don't think we have any signal yet. So if you're bullish, and let's say you bought this maybe on the break of this guy right here at about 5200, I think it's a hold. It's not a sell. If you're breaking 5300 and 5250, you got to get out of there, right? But until that happens, I think this market, it's a hold if you already own it. Taking a look at the RSP, we're starting to get a lot more participation, right, from the equal weight. You can see that, the breadth has been improving even. I mean, I don't want to go through all of this talk because there's a bunch of macro people that talk about this. So for me, I look at price, but basically the breadth has been improving even amid the sell-off, because the sell-off happened in the large caps, in the Magnificent Seven, but the rest of the markets are pulling back, as seen in the RSP. If you equal weight everything, or if you look at the IWM, kind of a similar story, mid caps, what have you. So this is a pretty nice close. There is no reason to be bearish on this one. I think it continues to look pretty healthy. Now, if you look at the Nasdaq 100, right, it's been hit pretty hard. I talked last week about this formation in here with the bullish candle, a little bit of a doji, and then a bearish candle, right? This kind of almost like a reversal formation. We'll see if it's going to continue. It did this week. We closed below the 10-week moving average. We are above the 18,500 support. We're right at the trend line, depending on how you're gonna. I mean, you can play with it a little bit. So there is more room to sell off, right? There's more. They can do a bit more shakeout, and still it wouldn't interrupt the trend. They can come all the way here to 18,000 and still be okay in the market, right? So we got to be a bit more careful with the Nasdaq. It doesn't look as it pulled back as much as the S&P, but it's still in an uptrend. Still looks fairly healthy from a weekly time perspective. It just needs to work through the sell-off and see if we respond to the upside. So again, not a vehicle that I want to get involved. Not in a TQQQ, or not even in the QQQs themselves. I don't want to participate there until I have better signals from the market. And as the composite, it's very, very similar to that. Semiconductors, right? I mean, you can see, that they shake out as well. Obviously, we have a lot of them up there in the Nasdaq 100, but the pullback has happened from the support, right near 5,000 in here. Pretty good support. Used to be resistance. Now we're checking it back. I want to see the market get back to a bullish candle above that 5404. There's a 10-week moving average, and then we can think about starting to be long semiconductors. Until that happens, I'm not definitely not interested. And then you have support down at the 40-week, which is a 200-day, at about 4601. By the time you get there, things might be a little iffy, and it's going to be a lot more technical damage, a lot more recovery. But again, it hasn't happened, so no reason to discuss it at the moment. This is the Magnificent Seven, MAGS ETF. 3 full weeks of selling, right? I think this was like a couple of percent, 4%, another 4 or 5%, maybe even 6 this week. Let's take a look at that. Yes, no, this is 380. This was 476. For some reason, this candle appears bigger than that one. It's probably the way it opened and it gapped and all of that. So anyway, decent three wave, decent three black candle sell-off, right? Quite aggressive. I mean, we're losing a bit of the volume on the downside. We close below the 10-week, remains in an uptrend. There's nothing wrong really here. But again, there's a lot of technical damage in these stocks. And I mean, if I take a trend line and just kind of place it from here, you're fine. I mean, there's really nothing wrong yet, right? It could be a couple of weeks of pauses in here, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you start to do that, and then you make a new high. So, just pause for now, let it fix itself, and then we'll take a look at it later. Dow Jones looks beautiful in here. It had a chance to continue the sell-off from the end of the last week when we created almost this inverted hammer, or it's not a hanging man. It's more of a shooting star, I think, or an evening star, call it. But we did not close below the 40K support. If anything, we came back, created a bullish candle. I like the volume. Yeah, there's a lot more value in here. There's financials which are doing good, maybe healthcare, industrials, things like that. But there's nothing wrong with Dow. I continue to favor it. I am long the Dow ever since we broke out. A little bit of a shake in here, right? Back to kind of break even, but now we're up into gains again. And based on this, I'm letting it run. If we're starting to break below the 10-week moving average, and there's some fibs I'm watching, then maybe time to get out. But for right now, it's doing nothing wrong in my view. It looks pretty good. And then IWM, it's the rock star lately in here for at least 3 weeks. I mean, we got long on the break. I'm still long. I've added to my TNA position last week as well on the nice response from the market on a daily basis. I talk about that on my daily written updates and videos. And I continue to like it. I mean, what's not to like? It's a clear breakout. I like the volume. I don't see any black candles. I will continue to hold until proven otherwise. So it's totally fine. It could be that the small caps are going to be in favor. But listen, I don't really analyze from a macro perspective. Like if it's the small caps, or if it's the large ones, or breadth this, breadth that. I look at the price, and I look at the technical levels, and if something breaks and it looks healthy, then let's get on it. There's really nothing else we have to go by. Sure, we can talk about the Fed and cutting the rates, and maybe that will help small caps, and I don't know, maybe there is too much juice into the Magnificent Seven and they have to shake it. Maybe they move money over here, rotation. You hear people talking all these kind of things. I don't know if it really matters. I mean, what matters is that this chart acts well and the other charts don't. So that's your answer. I mean, I don't need for anybody to tell me what I see in front of me, and that's a chart that continues to act well. If it breaks to 10, then we got an issue. Until then, have at it. Bitcoin, and we'll talk a little bit about the wave count in Bitcoin as well. But I talked about this three-wave setback, many weeks ago, right into this 40-week. It looks beautiful. It got followed through with two beautiful weekly candles here, fully closing bullish the previous week. This week has been, shaking out a little bit, just still struggling, right, to break that 70K. That's a massive level, but I think there's a decent chance that you go through it. There's no such a thing as a triple top, very rare. I think we're going to break it and move towards 75 and 80,000. When we'll see. I mean, we'll take it one day at a time. I put in the chat that I increased positions on Friday, and I'm still nicely long this one. We got the signal on the daily time frames. We jumped on it, and now we're just waiting for the break and to continue. Once it breaks, we'll add some more to the position and let it move to the upside. If it does, let me take a look here at Bitcoin. We'll start with the weekly time frame. This is the main count that I'm watching. I talked about this numerous times. Nice 3-day setback. It could be a 4, it could be a 2. I don't really care right now. All I want to see a break and then see how long it continues, how it behaves, and then we can adjust the counts. But clear corrective move. And if you look at the daily, and we're hunting a larger third wave to the upside. If you look at the dailies, right, this is the so-called fourth wave in here through a nice 38.2 pullback of this larger wave 3. So from here you have a nice impulse, 1 2 1 2 3 4 5, maybe 4 and 5, maybe a little bit of a setback again, and then we go, maybe we go straight away. It doesn't really matter. What I do know and what I told all my members is, hey, if you're starting to close and break 63K and move to the downside, we might want to give up those bullish positions. Let the market work through its correction. What if it's got other ideas with the mag selling off? What if it's going to break 60 and then 58, right? We don't want to be involved. So for right now, it continues to act well, and that's what I want to see. The moment it doesn't, then we shake it out, and then we re-enter when it does. So right now, it looks pretty good. Yes, you're up into resistance, but what you're going to do eventually, that's going to have to give up. And when it does, then they might pull it back, shake out the breakout buyers. You know what the market does, right? They're not making it easy on us. It's not like you come in here and you make money day in and day out, right? Markets will test you every day. So for right now, I continue to like it and remain bullish Bitcoin. So same for Ethereum here with a nice three-way setback. It doesn't act as well as Bitcoin does, right? It's got a bit more of a more awkward pattern, but still a three-way setback. I would like to see this black candle turn and break 36, 38, and then that'll give me more motivation that Ethereum it's also ready to go. For right now, it's still struggling being below that 10-week. And then quick look at the treasury yields. I mean, we're sitting at 4.2. If the Fed is going to cut, we might see a dump here. Maybe it happens ahead of that, before, maybe in August, before they cut in September. Maybe it's going to go towards 4. Then you're going to have 3.8. The dollar, not doing a whole lot. Still kind of sideways. I don't have, again, like I said last week, not a good visibility. It doesn't respond to anything right now. It's on a world of its own. If you break the trend line, then yes, I think it's likely we're going to go to 100. If you break 106, then you're probably going to go to 108. But until then, there's not much to do there. And then gold, I was worried a bit after this shake up there, then breakdown below 2450, but it had no continuation. Now it could still have it. Hasn't happened yet, but I think if you lose 2300, there's a bit of a trouble. If you have it right now, it's still a hold for me. It looks fairly decent, and silver does look like a three-way setback more and more. So how do you trade this? Well, you're going to have a chance if it comes all the way down here, which might be too much. Then you have a low risk reward at about 26, but you don't want to buy a falling knife. If it does, you want to wait until buyers come in and then buy it. If it turns from here, maybe wait until it breaks above 30 and then start to nibble at it. Right now, even though it looks like a three-wave move, you're never really sure if it is or not until buyers come in. So that's the point that you got to wait for. And then what else? Like crude, really miserable, and then volatility index, went up to 19, kind of pulled back to 14. Now it's somewhere in the middle. A little bit higher volatility. That's why you have to reduce position sizes and just be a bit more careful. I'm about, what am I, about 40% invested, I think, right now, with the stuff that I bought, I think, on Friday. So I'll be looking to add to those positions as the markets, start to turn back, maybe from the S&P, from the Nasdaq. But I'll talk about that again daily in my videos in here. So check it out, elliotwavecafe.com. I'll be happy to have you. Thanks for being a part of this video, and every week I'll see everybody next time. Bye bye.